Thank you, Mr President. Before I ask my question, Mr President, I give notice that on Wednesday the 13th of September 2023, I will move that the general regulations under the Young Offenders Act of 1993, made on the 3rd of August 2023 and laid on the table of this Council on the 29th of August 2023, be disallowed. I seek leave to make a brief explanation before addressing a question without notice to the Attorney-General on the topic of young offenders.
Granted. Leave is granted.
Yesterday, the Attorney-General tabled the Young Offenders Regulations of 2023. Under Section 9 of these regulations, a young offender who is detained within 40 kilometres of Adelaide's General Post Office, I quote from the regulations, may be detained in a police prison or approved police station, watch house or lockup in accordance with these sections. That applies for as long as it is reasonably practicable. In a 2022 report on South Australia's progress on recommendations made by the United Nations Committee on the Rights of the Child, the Commissioner for Young People noted on page 15 that children were arrested and detained in SA police cells or watch houses at least 2,030 times between 2020 and 2021. Of these separate admissions, 43% of these young people were First Nations young people. My question to the Attorney-General is, why does the government think it is appropriate to detain children as young as 10 in police stations, watch houses or lockups for indefinite periods? And when will the government move to raise the age of criminal responsibility to 14 years?
I thank the honourable member for his question and his passionate advocacy in the area of raising the age of minimum criminal responsibility in particular. As I've outlined to this place and in public before, sir, we are undertaking work to look at what it would look like if we did raise the minimum age of criminal responsibility. It is not a policy we have committed to, but there is certainly a large body of work that we're undertaking in South Australia, as there is that is being undertaken nationally by all states, a process that was commenced, the national process commenced under the former government, who committed to looking at what it might look like and the evidence for raising the minimum age of criminal responsibility. Some of the areas that continue to be looked at in South Australia are areas that you might expect. That is, if you raise the age from 10 to 12, as I think the NT and ACT have done. I think Victoria have made a recent announcement about raising the age. I think Tasmania have made an announcement about raising the minimum age of detention, which is not the minimum age of criminal responsibility, but in some areas it has a similar effect in terms of children who are actually detained in custody facilities. One of the main areas is what comes instead of the criminal justice system. Those other sort of interventions, be they therapeutic interventions, family supports or oral interventions. And I've got to say, so I have been surprised at just the complexities and the amount of work that has gone into this already. And there's another matter that touches on what the honourable member raised, in addition to what are the other interventions in a young person's life that might even be more successful in making the community safer by having a lower chance of reoffending. But there is then what are the immediate powers of particularly police officers in terms of being able to intervene immediately. There are very successful processes in place in terms of family conferencing that the police use. The immediate police powers to intervene in situations, particularly where dangerous situations, is another element of the work that's ongoing. So, the honourable member raises one of them, and that is detention in police cells, and that is acknowledged that that is often a suboptimal way for experience for children, but that is certainly part of the work that we are undertaking as we look at this issue holistically.
Supplementary question, the Honourable Mr Sims.
When will the Parliament receive an update on that work that is being undertaken? And in particular, does that work involve consideration of the report of the United Nations Committee on the Rights of the Child?
Attorney.
I think the Honourable Member, for his question, I don't have a, as much as I'd love to give the Honourable Member a date, it'll happen on this day of this month. I don't have a date. That it is important work that we want to do thoroughly. I think from the outset, the overriding factor about these changes is what makes the community safer, and we're looking internationally too at what the results have been in terms of the reduction in reoffending and the effects on community safety. We will do the work as thoroughly as possible, and I know the Honourable Member will look forward to any announcement we have in this area.
Further supplementary question, the Honourable Mr Sims.
Again, has that work been informed by the United Nations Committee report on the rights of the child?
Look, I'm not sure that United Nations Committee report on the rights of a child, I never heard that in the original answer. Sit down, the Honourable Mr Sims, sit down. However, Attorney, if you'd like to answer the question, you can. Otherwise, we move on.
I'm most helpful, and I'm happy to do so, sir. As I've said, certainly the work has looked at international experiences and had a look at a whole range of different jurisdictions that have moved this way and are looking at it as well.